akagonga mmoja yao hapo nyuma ya kichwa. Mtoto akazirai, akapelekwa Karira Mission Hospital, ndio mtoto akaaga.
Shock as a teacher allegedly canes pupil to death in Kirinyaga.
The criminal or terrorist who injured baby Setrin and orphaned him is no different from that one who killed Makaburi.
Makaburi killing blamed on unknown criminal element.
Massive investment in security sector begins this month, government reveals.
Counties have done much better. There are counties who have used the resources that they had 40% on development.
And Ruto's vote of confidence for county government.
This is KTN Prime with Yvonne Okwara and Wilson Buru.
It is the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. A very good evening and welcome to KTN Prime.
Thank you for joining us on the second day of April 2014. We start off our bulletin on a tragic note this evening. A standard 7 pupil died a few hours after being disciplined by his teacher in Mwea, Kirinyaga County.
The pupil at Roka Academy in Mwea was allegedly hit on the neck during corporal punishment. Police had to be called in to stop parents and area residents from lynching the teacher.
It all started at around 6 a.m. as the children at Roka Academy were making their way to the morning classes. Under unclear circumstances, John, not his real name, got into trouble together with 6 of his classmates. The teacher on duty, who also happens to be the proprietor of the school, decided to punish the standard 7 pupils. It is alleged that he struck John hard on the neck, after which John is said to have collapsed. For close to 5 hours, the school administration is said to have contained the incident until 11 a.m. when they rushed the boy to a nearby mission hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. It is at this point that the area SPD got a whiff of the incident as members of the public from Gurumbani Market rounded up and headed towards the school, baying for the teacher's blood.
Alikuwa anaenda rauda akakuta mtoto anapiga kelele kwa darasa. Akachukua mtoto akampiga na alikuwa anampiga na kijiti kubwa kama mbao hivi.
Tukapata ripoti wazazi wamekusanyika hapa na wanataka kuchoma hii shule. Ndio tuko hapa sasa kuzuia.
All this time, the accused teacher was protected by the police while his colleagues managed to escape. The school was then closed indefinitely.
Wakubwa ya education wamekuwa hapa ndio wamefunga shule.
It was also not clear whether the parents of the boy were informed as the staff from the school declined to comment. The teacher was then taken into custody after demonstrations had subsided and is expected to be taken to court on Thursday. Ian Wafula, KTN.
The Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenku has today indicated that the government is conducting investigations into the killing of controversial Muslim cleric Abubakar Sharif alias Makaburi. This is a heavy contingent of police officers was deployed to parts of Mombasa County to ensure calm. Betty Kialo reports.
Outside the Masjid Musa Mosque, recently renamed Masjid Shuhada, heavy police presence throughout the day. Hundreds of officers were deployed to the area in readiness for any disturbance by area youth following the death of Abubakar Sharif alias Makaburi, who used to preach here. According to police, the people behind the attack remain a mystery, and investigations into who the killers were and the motive behind the attack are being conducted.
The car is in high pursuit. Na very soon tutapata kwamba ni nani amehusika.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenku indicated that Makaburi's killing was a criminal act.
The criminal or terrorist who injured baby Setrin and orphaned him is no different from that one who killed Makaburi. As a government, Ours is to investigate and deal with the same according to the law, and they will be brought to book.
Human rights activists in Mombasa condemned the killing, demanding that the government resolve the murder of Makaburi while restoring security in the coast region.
We're giving them 3 days, after which, if no serious action is taken to address the insecurity problem at the coast, then we will use Article 37 of the Constitution that allows us to protest, to demonstrate, and to present public petitions to leaders, because we are tired of the killings.
The audacity of the killing of Sharif Abubakar and the modus operandi brings to question the state conduct in the other cases and casts counter-terrorism on the spot.
Makaburi was gunned down last evening outside Shimolatewa prison after leaving Shanzu Law Courts. He had been attending the hearing of a case involving the youth who clashed with police at Masjid Musa in February this year. He has previously been linked to the terrorist outfit Al-Shabaab and has been blamed for radicalizing young Muslims at the coast. Betty Kyalo, KTN.
Right, now police in Nairobi today detonated an improvised explosive device that had been buried by the roadside in Juja Road near Mlango Kubwa. Now this comes just hours after the police last night recovered 2 live grenades from Medina Apartments in the Isli area. The Interior Ministry now says 2,650 suspects have been arrested since Operation Linda Usalama Watch began last week as the war on terror intensifies. Patrick Amimo reports.
Police sealed off Juja Road from Isli near the Pangani footbridge and diverted traffic to use General Warenge Street, following a tip-off that 3 people had been spotted burying some object with protruding wires by the roadside. Officers from the bomb disposal unit arrived at the scene as the surging crowd was advised to keep a safe distance. The officers searched the area with bomb detectors to locate the roadside bomb. They detonated the explosives in a bid to trigger explosion from the hidden bomb.
The information that person gave has now helped so many Kenyans who could have fallen into the trap of this.
Isli and Pangani estates are gaining notoriety on terror attacks. Between August 2012 and March this year, 30 people have been killed through use of hand grenades and improvised explosive devices. 2012 was the worst year for residents of Isli, with a total of 18 deaths. In mid-November 2012, 10 people were killed when an explosion went off in a matatu in Isli. Mid-December last year, an IED exploded in a public service vehicle that was en route to the city center from Isli, killing 4 people on the spot on Juja Road near Pangani Girls, a few meters from the scene of today's bomb scare. On Monday, 6 people were killed in Isli along 11th Street in twin grenade explosions. Following the Monday terror attack in Isli, police have been carrying out security operations. So far, 1,050 suspects have been arrested in Isli in an operation to flush out terror suspects and their sympathizers. Tuesday night, 400 suspects were nabbed. 2 grenades were recovered from Medina Apartments and the owner, Osman Mahat, and wife arrested.
Now already tuko na suspect. Juzi tena tumekuwa na the components of explosives zingine tumepata.
In September 2012, police arrested 2 suspects in Isli with bombs, grenades and a cache of weapons that included 6 suicide bombs, 12 grenades, 4 AK-47 assault rifles and 480 bullets. The suicide bombs had been mounted on vests attached to mobile phones with batteries for detonation. One of the suspects was jailed for 59 years by a Nairobi court after he admitted to be a member of the Al-Shabaab. The government has attributed the intermittent terror attacks on radicalization of youth.
Not a problem of radicalization of our youth. A number of youths have been radicalized, and that's why they are committing these atrocities of crime. We have some leads that leads us to a number of some of the suspects, and some of them are already in our custody, which we are carrying out investigation with a view of getting sufficient evidence, and soon they will be able to be arraigned in court.
Were it not for the support the National Intelligence Services provide to the National Police Service, a lot more could have happened than you have seen.
Police have intensified Operation Usalama Watch in Nairobi and its environs with a total of 2,682 suspects arrested from Central, Dagoretti, Gigiri, Langata, Isli, and Ongata Rongai. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Let's stick with security matters now, and an additional 7,000 police officers will be deployed to various parts of the country this month. Interior and Coordination of National Government Cabinet Secretary Joseph Ole Lenku says priority will be Nairobi, Mombasa, and the Kenyan border points. Lenku, who outlined measures to help improve security, says refugees are contributing to insecurity in the country. And as Rita Tinina reports, Lenku is confident that the government will win the war against terror.
Kenya and China, we have done.
The third day of the presentation of scorecards by cabinet secretaries saw the Ministries of Defense, Interior and Coordination of National Government, the National Treasury, Foreign Affairs, the Office of the Attorney General, and the government's senior constitutional and legal advisor give their reports. But the spotlight here was on one man, Joseph Ole Lenku.
Terrorism is a global phenomenon, and it comes in various faces and shapes and ideologies. And therefore, it is not something we expect to vanish into thin air tomorrow, but is a war we are sure to win.
With several terror attacks, the latest on Monday evening in Isli, the government says it is moving to beef up security in the country. An additional 7,000 police officers will be deployed this month.
Critical areas will be given priority, and these include, among others, Nairobi, Mombasa, and the management of our porous borders.
And it is not just about the numbers. The government is working on enabling police officers reach crime scenes by improving their mobility.
1,200 vehicles have already been rolled out and distributed across the country.
The ministry is also looking to revamp the police air wing in the coming financial year, wants to establish a forensic laboratory, improve police housing, and provide insurance for police officers. Ole Lenku gazetted refugee centers and issued a directive that refugees must reside only in the designated areas, says refugees must comply.
The refugees have contributed in some way to the insecurity we are experiencing. Want to send a clear signal to those who continue to abuse the hospitality of Kenyans hosting them.
Across the borders, Kenya, which sent troops to Somalia, says it has no exit plan from Somalia.
We expect that 2014 will be a decisive year in the fight against Al-Shabaab. We are stepping up operations and we intend to succeed.
Kenya is considering a request by the United Nations to send troops to South Sudan. On Thursday, Ministries of Education, Devolution and Planning, Labor, Social Security and Services, and Sports, Culture and Arts will conclude the 4-day self-assessment exercise, the first of its kind for the government. Rita Tinina, KTN.
7,000 police officers to be deployed to various parts of the country. That is the basis of our big question tonight. We are asking, do you think these efforts are enough to tame insecurity in the country? Do you think these efforts are enough to tame insecurity in the country?
Right, at that briefing rather, security was all that was being discussed, and so we want to hear your thoughts on this issue tonight. Send us your text messages to the number 22155. Start with a yes or no, followed by a brief comment, and also leave us your name and your location. On Twitter, you can get in touch with us at KTN Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara, and at Wilson_Mburu, and we will sample your views throughout this live newscast. Let's still stay on matters of insecurity. And the 6 people who died last month in the Likoni church attack had their bodies removed from the mortuary to start their journey to their various destinations for burial. Security was tight as tensions ran high in Mombasa following the killing of Muslim cleric Abubakar Sharif.
The journey to their final destination commenced after being at the Coast General Hospital mortuary for almost 2 weeks. It was a somber mood as family and friends tried to come to terms with the loss of their loved ones. The 6 bodies were removed from the mortuary amid tight security as police officers manned the area. Among those removed from the mortuary is baby Satrin Osinya's mother, who will be ferried to her matrimonial home in Busia. Mombasa County Commissioner Nelson Marwa called for calm in the county and said that people of all religions should be united.
And we cannot allow criminals, we cannot allow thugs to roam around our towns carrying guns.
Several Muslim leaders also joined in on the prayers as a symbol of unity with their Christian brothers. Najma Ismail, KTN.
Two people are still believed to be trapped inside a pickup truck that plunged into the Hohwe Dam in Mathira in Nyeri County this afternoon. Eyewitnesses say the driver managed to escape, but the two could still be in that vehicle, which is still in the water. The Nyeri Fire Brigade arrived at the scene, but due to the depth of the water in the dam, were unable to find the submerged vehicle. They are consulting the recovery experts to see how best to go about the exercise. It is still unclear how the car managed to break through the fence surrounding the Hohwe Dam. Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime, and right now we'll cross over to Mombasa, where our senior coast reporter Ferdinand Omondi is on standby. A very good evening to you, Ferdinand. Is going to tell us about the devolution conference. Could you please, Ferdinand, give us an update on what we have so far?
Good evening, Wilson. Today was the day where the opening discussions were made, and it was another exclusive affair between the Governors Council and the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. That is what was taking place today. It was rather private, but we did have a moment to see exactly what was happening in the morning hours. And the chairman of the KEPSA, that is Vimal Shah, the CEO Carlo Karuki, and the chairman of the Governors Council, Isaac Ruto, who is the governor for Bomet, also exchanging the opening discussions, which look to set the pace for them to see how they will be able to benefit from each other under the devolved system of government. If you remember that the theme of this conference this time round is devolution 1 year down, celebrating the benefits and also confronting the challenges. Later on, we pulled aside the governor himself, who explained to us how important devolution is, and was also not very critical of those who have been saying that devolution so far has been a failure. This is what he said in a nutshell. Listen in.
The bureaucracy, the red tape that has continued to dog our business environment has to go. You should indeed find this as a wonderful opportunity. You come to the county of Kwale, have a meeting with the governor and his executives. You'll call the executives, you'll call all the technical people. The decisions should be made very quickly, because they are not waiting for anyone else to come and make those decisions. They will have to make those decisions. The decision-making process has therefore been shortened. That is the importance of devolution. It was not meant to disadvantage anyone. It was in fact meant to ease the way we do work in this republic. Therefore, I believe this is a great opportunity. We will indeed eliminate that bureaucracy. There are challenges that we face, which I'm sure you, as the business community, you are keen on making sure these are sorted out.
The words of Isaac Ruto, the governor for Bomet, and the chairman of the Governors Council, they are giving us a highlight of what looks like to be that the central government and the devolved system of government, the two units, haven't really trusted each other so much towards the implementation of the new constitution with regards to devolution. Well, but that is also a story for another day. Today, though, like I mentioned earlier, the governors were meeting the Kenya Private Sector Alliance in a meeting that started at 10 in the morning and ended just a few minutes ago. And I have with me the governor for Elgeyo Marakwet to explain to us, Mr. Alex Tolgos, to give us exactly what was going on. Thank you for making time. Now, Governor, it is a meeting that took well over 10 hours. What were you discussing?
Thank you, Ferdinand. I think today's meeting was an interactive meeting between
the governors and Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and I want to say that the meeting was fruitful, and among the things that we discussed is the engagement of Kenya Private Sector and the county governments. And I think one of the things that came out clearly is that the governors or the county governments needs to put in place structures that will allow private sector to invest in our counties. And also we shared our challenges, and also we know that most of us have been looking for solutions elsewhere or outside this country, but we realized today that we have a potential private sector which can offer solution to some of the issues that we've been trying to go to other countries and look for solutions. So I think for me it was a very nice discussion, though time was not enough for us. But at the end of the meeting, we all agreed that the Council of Governors Committee and also the Private Sector Alliance should engage further on how the counties and also the private sector can engage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and tomorrow, the members of the County Assembly will now be coming all over for now a very big dialogue forum in the big hall there. Now that you have met the KEPSA, now meeting the players from all of the sectors of the country, both in the central, devolved government, and the NGOs as well. What are your expectations for tomorrow?
I think tomorrow will be a very important day for the devolution family, where we'll have all our MCS, all the governors, and also members from the NGO world, and also our partners who have been supporting devolution from the inception up to this moment. And among the things that we will be celebrating are the achievements that we county governments have achieved so far. And I must say that there are a lot of things that we need to celebrate. For example, the issues of health sector, where we've had a lot of improvement in our health facilities. We've ensured that all our facilities are supplied to drugs, among other things. And also, it's important that we as counties will also share our challenges, so that moving forward, we will be able to see how we can use these challenges and also to share the success stories in different counties, because we know we have 47 counties, and each county has a unique challenge or opportunity that may be used by other counties in the improvement of the other counties. So I think for us it is important that tomorrow we are celebrating 1 year in office, and we want to promise Kenyans that devolution is working and it is real, and we are urging the Kenyan public to support this cause, because it will improve their lives.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alex Togos. That was brief, but thank you very much for summing it up. That is the Governor of Elgeyo Marakwet, Mr. Alex Togos, telling us what happened today and the expectations for tomorrow. KTN will be live to give you the proceedings so that you can listen in for yourself and make your judgment on whether the devolution conference is worth it or not. So stay tuned. And from Mombasa, I am Ferdinand Omondi. Back to you, Wilson and Yvonne.
Well, thank you very much, Ferdinand, for that update. We'll, of course, keep updating you on what's going on in that devolution conference as it continues. Let's move on, and we'll actually stick with devolution matters. An embattled Meru County Governor Peter Munya will stay in office for the moment after the Supreme Court ruled that the IEBC should not conduct elections to replace him until his case is heard. Some of the leaders from Meru welcomed the decision, allowing Munya back into office, saying that Munya should be allowed to finish his term in office.
Mixed reactions for supporters of both the embattled Meru Governor Peter Munya and former Cabinet Minister Kilemi Mwiria rang outside the courts. This was after the Supreme Court ordered that Munya should go back to office pending the determination of the appeal. Justices Smokin Wanjala and Jackton Ojwang also noted that Munya had an arguable appeal on matters of the Constitution and directed that the Chief Justice should constitute a full bench to hear the case. They further directed that the IEBC should not conduct any elections for Meru County Governor, and the Speaker of Meru Assembly should not be sworn in to assume office till the case is heard and determined. This comes after the embattled governor's election was nullified by the Court of Appeal in Nyeri on 12th March.
But now the court has said clearly, with no unequivocation, that I'm in office until this matter is undetermined.
The governor of Meru County, His Excellency Peter Munya, continues in office as the governor of Meru.
We will continue to fight on because we think we have a good case. We think we have a very strong case.
Also from the courts, the National Land Commission has moved to the Supreme Court seeking an advisory opinion on their mandate, saying that there was an ongoing clash between the Cabinet Secretary of Lands, Charity Ngilu, and the Land Commission. The commission, chaired by Mohamed Swazuri, wants to know who should sign the title deeds and the renewed leases. Winnie Kamau, KTN, Nairobi.
To some good news tonight, farmers have been told to prepare for a bountiful harvest owing to the amount of rainfall expected this month of April. This is according to the Meteorological Department's Central Regional Director, Francis Ngwata. Carol Derry with that weather update from Nyeri County.
The month of April is here, and with it, a heavy downpour is expected to hit farms in agricultural zones. Central Kenya is one such zone, and farmers have been preparing their farms in anticipation of the rains. Well, according to Francis Ngwata, the Nyeri County Director of Meteorology, the rains this time round will be similar to those experienced in 2012, and this is some welcome news to farmers.
In this region, that is Nyeri County, we are going to get average rainfall to above.
Be that as it may, Ngwata says that the environment has been degraded so much so that this is affecting the rainfall pattern.
Because of the advance in technology, there are pollution, okay? These pollutions are now creating some gases that are now shielding the atmosphere.
While this is not exactly new, environmentalists have been sounding an alarm over global warming, and they say it is about time the grave matter was taken more seriously. Temperatures have been rising too, as evidenced by the melting snow glaciers on Mount Kenya.
Like now in Mount Kenya right now, we are saying the snow has shrinked to a level that is now too low, and the reservoir from that particular mountain of the water is going to be less and less, and therefore also our rivers are going to be affected.
Nyeri County was recently mentioned in a report as leading in forest cover in Kenya with 38%, as opposed to a county like Siaya that has only 2% forest cover. Nyeri has 2 of Kenya's 5 water towers, Aberdares and Mount Kenya Forest. So important are these towers that they have a direct link to the lives of people living as far away as Nairobi.
There have been some tremendous effort in conserving the Mount Kenya region and the Aberdares. And this is evident.
A forest cover of at least 10% is required in Kenya, but so far we are at approximately 7.1% forest cover.
We need also to continue educating our people so that we do not have these calamities coming.
They say make hay while the sun shines, and in this case it is plow your farms while the rains are still here. But every single individual has been challenged to ensure that the environment is evergreen for the sustenance of future generations. Carol Derry for KTN in Nyeri County.
It's time for the business news now. Nairobi and major urban centers are heading for an acute housing shortage, according to a report by Property Developers Association. The report says the country is only meeting 7.5% of the intended housing supply annually, heaping pressure on prospective homeowners. Michael Karanja has the details.
Kenya's housing gap is increasingly on the rise as the country's population continues to grow. With limited support from the government, property developers have been left to supply houses in the market while meeting their commercial interests. So far, demand outstrips supply, and according to the State of Development report, only 58,000 houses enter the market annually, marking 7.5% of the government's target to build 250,000 housing units per year.
One of the big barriers there is entry. If you think about these very large projects, they're putting their own infrastructure in, so they're roads, sewers, electricity. And that is a very high capital cost for them to be absorbing and then passing on to the buyers.
According to the report, the challenges stem from the fact that developers at times overdevelop certain areas that seem profitable. This has meant that development is now reaching buffers in other areas, with building densities rising with more units per plot and the availability of new land in the most heavily developing areas of the city now declining drastically. For example, in Kilimani, which was one of the most heavily developing suburbs in 2013, the report found that just 12 vacant plots remained, compared to the 417 much more static areas of Runda.
But unfortunately, there has been a tendency in the development market to sort of follow the leader. So if, for example, a developer sees another developer doing something in a certain area, he'll go into that same area and do the exact same thing, assuming that by doing the same thing, he'll also be successful. Now, what developers often forget is that first one was successful because it was the first one.
The housing challenges is not made any easier with the hike in construction permit fees from 0.006% of the cost of construction to 1.25%. This has meant that houses getting onto the market are more expensive, making that dream of owning a home ever more elusive. Michael Karanja, KTN Business.
Kenyan blogger Sitawa Wafula has been named among the 5 winners of Africa Connected competition, which was launched by Google last year, calling for entrepreneurs, creatives, innovators and web lovers to share stories of how the web has transformed their lives and work. The winners, among them a Ugandan, a Ghanaian and 2 Nigerians, will each take home 2.1 million shillings and have an opportunity to work with a Google sponsor over a 6-month period to further their online business success. Wafula used Google's blogger application to establish a blog where people can access information on mental health. Google said this initiative was aimed at celebrating how the internet is changing lives in Africa through contribution to the socio-economic development of the continent.
The internet revolution is still in its infancy in Africa, and this is a chance that we have to develop the equivalent of a Marshall Plan for Africa, where there will be significant investment in new technology.
Treasury is committed to curb wastage and stem corruption. This is the promise of the Jubilee government as it settles down for its 2nd year in office. Adelaide Changole has those details.
Going to launch.
In a bid to reduce runaway expenditure, Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury Henry Rotich says the state will introduce a single treasury account which prohibits government entities from running multiple bank accounts.
We are going ahead also to introduce the treasury single account effective July this year. This will be a tool to ensure better cash management rather than money lying sometimes idle in accounts of the ministries or the accounts of the county government.
Addressing the press during the government appraisal exercise, Rotich said the government had also ratified the national paperless payment system that will improve efficiency and transparency in public sector transactions.
The National Payments Service Act, which aims at improving payments and settlement and facilitating innovation, including electronic payment for government services, is now operational. I gazetted the operationalization of this act on March 24th.
In the 2nd year of Jubilee's administration, the Cabinet Secretary vowed to implement austerity measures that were the hallmark of their first year in office.
The Treasury has taken steps to ensure that we limit the wastage and ensure efficient use of public resources, covering non-productive areas like travel, hospitality, training, transport, and conferences.
Adelaide Changole, KTN.
MPs from the Western Kenya Sugar Belt have thrown their weight behind Mumias Sugar Board's decision to suspend the company's chief executive officer, Peter Kebati, and commercial director, Paul Murgor, over irregularities in the company. Led by Mumias East legislator Benjamin Washiali, the parliamentarian said that the suspensions are a step in the right direction as the sugar miller has been struggling for years with losses, delayed payments to farmers and cane poaching. The MPs further questioned the decision by the miller to involve a third party to handle the imports, yet the Kenya Sugar Board issued the license to them. They recommended that the board should conduct an in-depth audit of the miller's financial books and point out the misappropriations.
Again, the U.S. commitment to freedom of the media, freedom of expression here in Kenya. The security situation is obviously a big concern at the moment, and it is something that does require continued strong efforts. The United States has worked closely with Kenya on security over the years. Obviously, recently, in the last few weeks, there have been some violent incidents down in Mombasa, in the Mombasa area in particular, and the United States is extremely concerned about this. We obviously deplore the violence which has taken place. I would encourage the authorities to do everything possible, of course, to bring to justice those who may have been responsible for the attack.
It's now time for sports, and Nick Mudimba has joined us in our sports studio. Nick, good evening. Let me ask a question. What is your opinion of last night's game?
I'm very sure, Wilson. Of course, our prayers were answered. 1-1 is a big result for us, but let's see. Let's hope not for any annihilation in Munich, because it's going to be bad. I feel like Munich is going to be a rough one. But tonight, Wilson, we've got athletics news for you. We've got David Rudisha back in the training, and of course, motorsport news. Time for sports. I'm Nicholas Mudimba. We begin with athletics, where we are not in a hurry to get back into competition. Those are the words from 800 meters world record holder David Rudisha's coach, Brocol Monel, who says that despite resuming training, Rudisha is taking it slow with no specific timeline set to competition. The Olympic champion is nursing a knee injury he suffered in May last year after competing at the New York Diamond League and missed a chance to defend his title in Moscow.
It is the laughter of delight and relief, a clear evidence of just how much joy there is in finding the strength to rise again from the deepest hole an athlete can ever find himself in: injury. Since suffering a knee injury early into the 2013 track season, 800 meters Olympic champion and world record holder David Rudisha has kept off competition while spending most of his time off the track in Germany for rehabilitation. It, however, is time to get back to shape. Rudisha is back to his E10 training base, although his choice for a workout on this particular day sells him out as an athlete who is not too hard on himself, and together with his coach, brother Colm O'Connell, they are on an almost new discovery journey.
Combining what you might call recovery exercise work with what you might call, more formal training as well. So we're just bringing the two together, where he still has to strengthen the knee because having been out for so long, your muscles of course get a bit weak.
His absence from the track has given room for others to shine, and Ethiopia's Mohamed Aman is one of them who clinched the world title in Moscow. So with the Africa Athletics Championships and the Commonwealth Games coming up later this year, we asked Coach O'Connell if Rudisha will seek to reclaim his place in the national team.
A man of Ethiopia, he has won the World Championship in Moscow, and he has won the World Indoor. Not just him, but even other 800 meter runners have also been performing well, with the result that whenever he runs at that level, he has to be really ready. He has to be really prepared mentally and physically.
As it stands, the projection is to compete in one of the local track and field weekend meetings, but there's no hurry.
Next year we have World Championships, and of course 2 years' time, next Olympics. It comes around very fast. So we have to keep an eye on all these, but at the same time, the most important thing now is to give him plenty of time to recover.
With no results to reflect on his 2013 season's card, Coach O'Connell lets us into the news that his esteemed speedster student Rudisha was featured in the 2014 edition of the Guinness Book of Records. Lane Washira, KTN Sports Today.
Tomatoes motorsport now. Carl Flash Tundu and Alistair Carvin have introduced two new rallying beasts in the rallying scene in the country. The arrival of two new Proton Super 2000 cars from Malaysia is generating considerable interest across the regional rallying fraternity. But with the cars, they expect teething problems on the Kenyan roads, more so when they head to Kiambu for the KCB Home Run event on 26th of April and 27th.
Navigator.
The confirmed return of Carl Tundu and Alistair Kavana to the Kenya Motorsports competitions will definitely add more quest for drivers in the KNRC to up their game. The arrival of two new Proton Super 2000 cars has made the Kiambu leg even more interesting and promises increased levels of competition. Although the Super 2000 Formula cars has graced the World Rally Championship Series a few years ago, it will be the first time that Kenyan drivers are using the Super 2000, which are normally non-turbo cars. Machakos Rally was an avenue for most drivers to get used to the machines, and the Kiambu leg to be staged in private farms in Migaa Estate, Shianda, Tatu City and Boy Committee is expected to be cutthroat.
The last rally, for instance, we had 4 champions
in our class taking part in one rally. So to win one race, you are beating other champions, apart from the newcomers and the seasoned campaigners. So you're looking at 6-7 people who can possibly win the rally.
With Kenya being the first country in the continent to showcase the Proton Rally contraption, the bar for the ever-growing FIA Super 2000 will be raised.